Now it is my great pleasure to introduce to you all today's presiding officer, which is our esteemed 107th president of the Adcraft Club of Detroit, Sherry Weitzman.
Good afternoon, and thanks so much for being here for Digital Day 2013. It's great to see how many folks are in this room. We definitely have a sellout crowd. I think it's probably close to SRO tonight. You know, there's a lot of synergy between Adcraft and 313 Digital, and we're really thankful to have this opportunity to bring this program to both of you. I'm going to let Jason Gold, who's both president of 313 Digital and the vice president digital media director at Universal McCann, tell us what 313 has been up to, and then I'm going to come back and share a few more words before we begin our speaker presentation. Jason?
Thank you. 2012 was a productive year for 313 Digital. We continued our college outreach program, visiting campuses, working with professors and educating groups of students on digital media and potential careers. We continued our boot camp program, educating our own ambitious media professionals, helping them expand their careers through digital media. We launched our website, and we continue to ask for your patience as we work to make it a satisfying membership experience for you. We grew our active membership, and we welcomed our 1,000th member. It was a big milestone for us. And we collectively pulled together charitable donations totaling over $2,750 for local charities. This makes me very proud of this organization and this community. As the industry matures and everything becomes digital, 313 will continue to evolve. We look forward to growing our long-standing partnership with Adcraft and tapping into the growing tech startup community we see taking shape in and around Detroit. Thank you for your continued support of the 313 Digital organization.
All right, a few Adcraft announcements as you've become used to. One of the great opportunities that Adcraft can provide is education. Whether you're just starting out in the business, as I know some of you here are today, or you're one of the longer time practitioners. Today we're going to celebrate those who firmly and happily believe that they want to do what we do for a living, the students. One of the best ways we can support their passion and enthusiasm is with something every college student can use. You know what that would be? Money. Adcraft's scholarship program began in 1961, over half a century ago, and since that time, we've awarded more than $500,000 to help college students in this community prepare for careers in marketing and advertising. I can't think of anything we do that's more rewarding, and I know my colleagues here feel the same. It's truly a great way to give back, and we encourage you to all participate, whether it's mentoring or whether it's donating to one of our scholarship fundraising activities. Here to tell us about this year's Adcraft Scholarship winners is Kevin Peach, a board member and Education Committee co-chair. Kevin?
I'm thrilled and honored to introduce the scholarship recipients for 2013. As Sherry mentioned, we've given away over $500,000 over the last 50 years. Many of the former recipients are now Adcraft members involved in the advertising community, and some of them are even here this afternoon, so we're excited to see that. In addition to the traditional Adcraft Foundation Scholarship, I'm pleased to announce two new scholarships that are being awarded this year. One is the Donor Scholarship, and the other is the Ed Rossman Scholarship. We're also providing a Northwood University Scholarship to one lucky individual from Northwood University. This year, the committee had to call through those applications in order to determine who the best of the best were. And these students will pursue careers in a variety of different disciplines, be it account management, strategic planning, creative, client side, media planning, my favorite. And we were really pleased with the individuals that participated this year. I'd also like to thank the judging committee that was involved in culling through these applications and meeting and basically hammering out and arm wrestling who the recipients should be. You guys can sit now, thank you. Tom Berry from Fox Cable, Susie Gardner, Steve Larson from Yahoo, Justin Farmer from Facebook, Lisa Ann Rocha, who chaired the committee from SMG, Nancy Walter from Finconnaissance, and Anthony Winters also from Yahoo. So thank you to the committee Betty, for all your hard efforts in running through all of these. And I'd also like to thank Clarence Young from Adcraft, who called and organized all of the applications for everybody. So thank you, Clarence, for all of your efforts as well. And then lastly, I'd like to mention, I mentioned Robert M. Ellis Endowment Fund, which is a scholarship honoring former Northwood University professor and a student from Northwood University. This year, Sarita McKinney, who unfortunately couldn't join us today, is the recipient of that award, so congratulations to her, and thank you and congratulations to everybody again. Sherry?
Thanks, Kevin. And again, congratulations to all the students who've been awarded Adcraft scholarships. Now pay attention, folks, because this is your next generation of industry leadership, and one day I expect all of those individuals to be sitting up on the dais or being our featured speaker today. And now for our guest speaker. As CEO of Federated Media Publishing, the sprawling blog network that represents such sites as Boing Boing, The All, GigaOm, and Freakonomics, John Battelle is clearly one of the most influential people in the world of digital. He founded Federated in 2005, but before that, he was a co-founding editor of Wired Magazine and its entrepreneurial arm, Wired Ventures. He has also occupied the Bloomberg Chair on Business Reporting for the Graduate School of Journalism at the University of California, Berkeley. If you want to know what he's thinking, and I don't know who wouldn't, just visit BattelleMedia.com, where you'll find John Battelle's search blog, which covers his musings on the intersection of media, technology, and culture. In his spare time, he's also an accomplished author. His 2005 book on search became an international bestseller, and he's currently working on a new book called If Then, which will be published in 2014. If that weren't enough, John is an entrepreneur at heart. To that end, he founded the Open Co series of events. John describes Open Co as the reinvention of the tech conference, expanding it to become a festival-type celebration of all innovative companies that are inspired by the values of the open internet. Open Co will hit 4 cities this year, one of them Detroit, and we'll tell you a little bit about that later. But the first one will be in New York, May 22nd through 24th. Companies to be featured at this event will be Etsy, Kickstarter, BuzzFeed, and Foursquare, just to name a few, so you get an idea of the kind of clout that John can bring to any organization or any event. We very much appreciate John being here today to share with us his thoughts about the digital world that we live in today and what it might look like for this next generation. Adcraft and members of 313 Digital, please join me in welcoming John Battelle.
Let me give you a little bit of background, just a tiny little story about me. How many of you are in the digital advertising space? Wow, whoa. Okay, 313 representing. Or maybe also Adcraft, is I imagine that you cross over as you're starting to notice that the lines are being blurred. So I'll tell you a little story. In 1993, in the fall, we had our weekly editorial meeting at Wired Magazine. The editorial meeting is where all decisions were made, including business decisions. Which makes no sense, but that's just how it was. We were a startup, and the editors were running the place. The sort of lunatics were running the asylum. And we had just decided about 2 or 3 months prior that we were going to launch an internet site because there was this cool new beta program called Netscape that we thought was really important, and we imagined that really soon now, maybe in a year, everybody in the world would be using it, and they would need to, read content and engage with content. There'd be an entirely new model for publishing, and we wanted to be there, so we started hiring a bunch of editors to create entirely new content on the internet. We created a brand for it called Hotwired, which we thought was a pretty cool way to say, it's live, it's hot, but it's still wired. And they started work not repurposing the magazine content, but creating an entirely new reimagination of what the Wired brand meant online. Then the bills came. Turns out that you have to pay people if they're going to make this stuff, and that was the topic in the editorial meeting. How do we pay all these writers that we've just brought on, who aren't working on the magazine? With the magazine, we had a traditional model that we understood very well. We had a strong subscription base. It was only 9 months old at the time, but it had launched very strongly. We had a good white mail response, and subscription was coming in, and advertisers were starting to pay attention. We won a National Magazine Award that year for '93, so that was going well. But we didn't have a lot of spare dough to pay all these people, so we were trying to come up with a model. Now, we understood the browser, which probably made us one of maybe 24 people who did at the time in '93 in terms of in publishing, because we were really obsessed with it. And we thought, we've got to come up with a model to get people paid. So we sort of stroked our chins for a while. I was obsessed at the time. I was a younger fellow, '93. I was obsessed at the time with online services, which you paid for. CompuServe, AOL. I was on The Well, which was an early online community. I was also on a service called Prodigy. So my monthly online bills were almost as much as my monthly salary. But I was obsessed with this story and this narrative. I'd been online since about 1983. And so I was, into the communities that I could see were gathering there. And the only model that seemed to step out as we were considering this problem was advertising. Now, the reason being that people already were paying to get online. The internet was a layer on top of that payment. So the presumption was no one would ever pay for anything above and beyond just getting online. So our assumption, and it was the assumption of the early internet, and still a very broad assumption in our industry, that no one would pay for content. Content was going to be free, so we needed our advertising community to support it. The problem was, what would the ads look like? Okay, how many times have we had this conversation in the last 20 years, excuse me, what should the ads look like? They had that conversation at Twitter, they've had that conversation at Foursquare, they had that conversation at Google. Every time we have a new startup, they have that conversation, and you guys have to help them have it and tell them, stop with the new units already. But this was the first one, the first conversation. What should the ads look like? We kind of sat there and no one had any ideas, and finally I kind of said, hey guys, I've got an idea. I'm a member of Prodigy, and they all looked at me like, you dork, because Prodigy was the worst of all of them, in terms of the online services, but it was the one that had an ad, a blinking rectangular ad that was at the bottom of the page, and because it wasn't HTML, you couldn't scroll it away. It was just stuck there, and inside the box you could make things happen, but that ad stayed there all the time. And they had a sales force that sold that ad. So I said, well, why don't we rip off Prodigy? I mean, it's the only model I've seen of advertising online that seems to have any kind of scale, and we could put that banner somewhere on the page using HTML code. And my CEO and editor-in-chief, more editor-in-chief than CEO, I'll say, said, oh, what a great idea. We'll put it up at the top and people can scroll it out of the way. That is, in fact, the true story of the birth of the banner. I'm not kidding.
Remember being at the Reserve in Birmingham, Michigan?